So, welcome guys to another video, and in this video we're going to talk about how to write overviews for chain charts, and it's going to be, very important again. So, buckle up and be ready. So, let's start then. The first thing that must be included in your overview is the general trends. General trends basically refer to general changes of the categories, right? Without including general changes, you're not going to get a very good score in task achievement. Let's just say 7 or higher, because band descriptors literally say includes a clear overview of the main trends. So main trends basically refer to general trends. So now I'm going to explain what general trends mean, right? So let's look at this small table. I'm choosing, easier, graphs so that, it will be easier to explain them as well. So we have the number of cars made in 3 countries. Yeah, Argentina, Australia, Thailand. Now, if you look at the general change for Argentina, you will see something. Yeah, so it increased. So the general change is increase for Argentina. What about Australia? So it decreased. So the general change is a decrease for Australia. What about Thailand? So it basically increased and then little decrease. So general change is, if you compare these two, you'll see that it generally increased. So two of them increased and one of them decreased. That's the general trend. These are the general trends for this graph. So that's what you should include in your overview. And you need to understand one thing. Most people have confusion when it comes to writing overviews, and they know that they need to write the main things in the overview, but when it comes to defining what these main things are, many people have quite confusion, misconception, let's just say. And here's the thing, you must include general trends for all the categories. Not just one, not just two, not the, let's just say, main ones, right? You must include general changes for every and each and every category in the graph. That's what you need to do. Yeah. So let me erase the screen. So then we will move on. Yeah. This is the first thing that you must include in your overviews. Yeah, without including general changes, you're not going to get a very good score in task achievement, right? So after this, then you can include some complementary details. Usually including the general changes may not be enough. Yeah, there might be other key features of the graph. So what you're going to do is this. Yeah, you can mention the biggest and smallest changes, or let's just add this. Yeah, you can comment on the changes. Or whether, let's just say, they are small changes, or there are small changes, moderate changes, or big changes. Yeah, big changes. Yeah, you can comment on the changes. And then you can also include a category or categories that stand out with bigger numbers. So that's what you can do. I mean, normally this is more than enough, yeah, including general changes and including one of these 3 things or 2 of the 3 things. And I don't think you should include all these things because it's going to be very, very detailed. So try to include the general changes and one of these things. Okay. And just it also depends on the context, right? So then here are the don'ts. You don't mention any numbers, any random figures from the graph in your overview. You shouldn't do that. You don't do that. If you do, you're probably going to get 5 for your task response, sometimes 4. So then you shouldn't include any minor details. Yeah, you need to pay attention to the bigger picture, right? You should avoid including minor details. Yeah, I wrote crosses here, yeah, because sometimes in the graphs, especially with line graphs, students see these things, yeah, like this cross. I don't know why, but many students like to include details like this, yeah, or there's going to be something like this. Yeah, this one. So they like to mention this in their overviews. You don't have to mention it. You shouldn't mention this because it's just a one detail. You need to pay attention to the bigger picture. Yeah, big picture here. So it's just a minor, small detail right there. You shouldn't include this. And I also said that the overview doesn't have to include any interesting details. So you know, students like this, yeah, students like to get creative when they're describing overviews and they try to find interesting things. You don't have to look for interesting things in the graphs. You just look for the general trends and then other things that I have mentioned here. Yeah, so usually doing these will be more than enough for you to get 7 for your task response. I mean, task achievement, right? So don't do these. The overview doesn't have to be interesting. It must be correct. And the correct way is this. You need to include the general trends, and then you can mention, and I'm not saying you must, you can mention the biggest and smallest changes. You can comment on the changes, and you can mention a category or categories that stand out with bigger numbers. So that's the general explanation of how overview should be written. Of course, I'm going to show you examples. Now, let's look at some of the common phrases that I personally like to use to describe overviews. And I also recommend these sentence structures for you to use in your overviews. Yeah. So these are quite common. Like you can use them not just in one graph, you can use them in describing many other graphs as well. Yeah. So let's read and analyze. X, Y, and Z, I mean, these are the names of categories, right? Followed similar upward or downward trends. So now imagine, I'm going to, draw some pictures, yeah? So here's the thing, yeah? Sometimes you will see these. Hmm? So you see like A, yeah, B, C, let's just say, yeah, or X, Y, Z. So all of them, have similar and also upward. Yeah, upward means, increase. They have a similar upward trend, and they all followed similar upward patterns. So you can mention that in your overviews, and you can use this sentence. You can do it with this as well. Yeah, for example, X, Y, Z. Yeah, so all of them here followed similar downward patterns. So you can mention that in your overview. And you can use this sentence structure to mention those. So now let's analyze other sentence structures. X, Y, and Z saw increases, decreases of various degrees. I mean, that's a good sentence structure as well. So let me explain how you will use it. Yeah. Sometimes the categories increase or decrease, but the rate of increase or decrease will be different. So for example, look at this. So one of them is this, and one of them is this, and one of them is this. I mean, they're quite similar, but still, yeah. This one, let's just say X, and this is Y, and this is Z. So if you notice, I mean, you can notice, right? X had a bigger change, a bigger increase. Y had a moderate increase, but Z had a smaller increase. So in this situation, you can use this sentence to describe this, yeah? X, Y, Z saw increases of various degrees. So, I mean, you can do this with decreases as well. Yeah. So now, let's analyze the third sentence structure. Yeah. So we can say, X, Y, and Z increased or decreased, albeit at varying rates. So basically, this is another form of this sentence. Yeah. But it uses, verbs and the word albeit. Albeit basically means even though or although. So again, like let's use them. Let's draw decreases. Yeah. Uh, this decrease, and let's just say this decrease. So you see like all of them decreased, but at different rates. So in this situation, you can say X, Y, Z decreased, albeit at varying rates. That's how you will use it. So now the final one, and then I will, write overviews for you guys. So now, while X and Y increase, the reverse is true for Z. So imagine this situation, and here's the thing. So this is X, this is Y, and this is Z. So in this situation, two of them increased and one of them decreased. So to describe this situation, you can use this. The reverse basically means opposite. Yeah, the opposite of increase basically means to decrease. But be careful. Sometimes students get too carried away and they end up end up describing this situation using this sentence structure. Like imagine this, yeah? And one of them just stays the same, yeah? X, Y increase, but Z remains stable, yeah? So you cannot use the same sentence structure to describe this. You cannot say while X and Y increased, which is true, the reverse is true for Z. So, but this part would be incorrect if you describe this using this sentence structure, yeah? Because the reverse means, I repeat, yeah, means the opposite of something, yeah? And the opposite of increase is to decrease, but here it just remained the same. So be careful describing the overview using this sentence structure because everything must make sense, yeah? And remember this, yeah? Including, especially in your overview, including a wrong detail in your overview would drastically decrease your task achievement score. So you're going to get 5, even 4 for your task achievement if you include a wrong detail in your overview. Wrong detail basically refers to what? Saying something increased even though it didn't increase. Do you understand? For example, if you say, for example, this one, so let's say Z didn't change, right? Stayed the same. So if you say it decreased in your, overview, you're going to get 4 or 5 for your task achievement. So that's how, that's how much, strict the criteria for writing is in your IELTS essay. Yeah. So now let's move on. Now I'm going to show you how to write overviews. I'm going to show you how to apply these things to graphs. Let's start with this one. So we analyzed this graph before, yeah. Argentina increased, that's the first thing. Australia decreased, that's the second thing. And Thailand increased, that's the third thing. And let's look for other things, yeah. So I see this. In each year, yeah, Thailand showed bigger numbers, despite the drop in the final year. That would be a key feature in my opinion, yeah. So the first thing is this, yeah, we're going to say Argentina increased. The second thing that we're going to say is Australia decreased. And the third thing that we're going to say is Thailand also increased. And the fourth thing that we're going to talk about is this. Yeah, Thailand showed consistently bigger numbers in all years, despite a decrease in the final year. So, 4 key features. So let's write this. Overall, um, let's just say the car production in Argentina and in Thailand increased noticeably. Yeah. Well, let's use this. Yeah, let's use while. Increased noticeably. The reverse was true for Australia. So we included the three things, three key features. Now, moreover, we say to include the final thing, yeah? Thailand stood out among other nations with consistently higher figures in each year despite despite a decrease or decline in the final year. That's it. I believe this is a very good overview. Hmm? So you start by saying overall, here's the thing, yeah, here's a note. Don't use sentences like what stands out from the graph is that, yeah. Don't use any sentences like this. Yeah, just write overview and start the overview right away. You don't have to include these fancy sentences. So that's it. Yeah, you see what I did? What I did was I identified the general changes, which I said you must include in your overview, and I did include those in the overview. That's the general change. And then I also included one additional complementary detail. Yeah, I mentioned a category that stands out with bigger numbers. So that's what you should do here. I guess, that's a good overview. Now, let's see another graph. Yeah. Here we have what percentage of overweight men and women in Australia. So general change. The general change is this. Both numbers increased, right? And that's the first detail, first key feature, let's just say. And again, the same thing happened. If you compare men and women in each year, you will notice that men show higher figures, higher percentages compared to their female counterparts, right? What else? Let's try to comment on the changes, right? So it was, let's say 45. Now it is 70. So there is a what 25 percentage point the increase. What about women? It was 30. Now it is 50. It means that there's a 20 percentage point increase. So the proportion for men saw a bigger change. Yeah, remember the sentence structure that we learned? So we're going to use it in the in describing this overview. So there are, three key features. Yeah, I'm going to, highlight them one more time. So the first thing is, so let me write them here. First key feature is, first key feature. The proportion for men increased. That's the first. Second key feature. The same is true for women. Increased. Yeah. And the third key feature is men showed higher figures in each year. And the fourth key feature would be men saw a bigger rise, let's just say, bigger change. So these are the key features to include in the overview. You see what I'm doing? I identified the key features and then I looked for complementary details, right? So, and these complementary details are not very detailed, let's just say. Yeah, they're just general information. That's true for the whole graph. And I'm not just picking 1 year and comparing it. That would be, a very specific detail. So I would avoid using that. So now I will turn this list into an overview. Overall, the proportion, what was the topic? Overweight men. Yeah. The proportion of both over, or let's say, genders. Yeah? The proportion of both genders saw an increase, yeah? With men, with, let's say, that for men seeing a bigger change. So now let me explain that, what the that for means, yeah? So basically that's called referencing, that for. So I use this to refer to this word, proportion. Um, uh, so now let me just show you how to. The sentence should have been like this, with the proportion of men seeing a bigger change. Now, if you pay attention, I use the word proportion twice. Yeah. And instead of repeating the same word twice, I avoided that and instead used the word that for to replace that. So that's how you should do it. Okay. Now, let's move on. Now I will include, I included this and this and this. Now I need to include this as well. Additionally, men showed consistently bigger, consistently higher figures in each year compared to their female counterparts. So counterparts mean what? The word counterpart basically mean someone or something that has the same function. So here we're describing males and females in the same category. It means that they are counterparts to each other. Yeah, they have the same function in this graph. So that's why I use the word counterparts. So you see 3 key features, 2 sentences in the overview. That's a very good way. That's a very concise and short and simple way to describe your overview. So that's how you should do it. So now let's see one more, graph, and then we will wrap this up. Yeah. So let's look at this pie chart. The pie chart below, charts below show the percentage of 5 kinds of books sold by a bookseller between X and Y. So let's identify the general changes here. Adult fiction, increase, increase, increase. So adult fiction increased. Children's fiction, increase, increase, so increase. What about the rest? Others, yeah, decrease, decreased, so decreased. Travel, it increased and then decreased. Yeah, so overall changes decreased. Biography also decreased. So yeah. Okay. That's the overview. So now let's include let's write them so that we will not forget. Now we will just turn them into a list like the previous. Adult fiction. So let me just make it smaller. Adult fiction. Increased. Children's fiction. Increased. Other genres. Decreased. By other, I mean travel, biography, and other unspecified genres. Yeah. So what other details can we include? So adult fiction basically, yeah, saw the biggest change. Now you see, I'm just trying to comment, yeah. Biggest change, yeah. Okay, I guess that's it. Yeah. I'm just trying to look for other changes, other details in this overview, I mean, in this graph to include in my overview. So, so yeah, I guess that's it. Now let's turn them into an overview. Adult fiction showed the biggest rise. Let's just say, yeah. So overall, the proportion of proportion of both adult and children. I don't have to capitalize this, I guess, yeah. Adult and children's uh fiction increased with the former seeing the biggest percentage change. However, the remaining genres. So now I'm just going to show you something. Yeah, let's just say the shares of the remaining genres in sales, in book sales, you know, dropped noticeably. So you can say this, but instead I can, change the second part of the overview. So if you remember, we talked about giving context in charts and in task one in general, and this is share, basically means proportion. Yeah. And if you remember, we had, universal ways of giving context, and there were, context-based ways of giving context, let's just say, yeah. So here I can do the same thing, yeah. I wanted to say this, yeah. The remaining genres, fell out of favor. Favor. So I can, clarify which genres I'm talking about, yeah. Travel, biography, and other unspecified genres. Fell out of favor. So I can do the same thing here. So I recommend you use the word unspecified whenever you have the word others, yeah, because others basically refer to other genres, but their names are not mentioned exactly, like travel, biography, adult fiction, children's fiction, right? So that's it. That's how I would describe this. So you see, I'm using the things that I showed you at the beginning, this sentence, for example, yeah. The proportion of both adult and children's fiction increased, with the former seeing the biggest percentage change. However, the shares of the remaining genres in book sales dropped noticeably. So that's it. That's how I would describe this in my overview. Okay. So, thank you guys for your attention. Again, if you have any questions related to how to write overviews or any other questions related to the course, leave them in the comment section, and see you in the next videos.